Know me. I am Rizwhauna Matibedi. I have recently started posting my own videos, and I I do believe one of the very first videos that I posted was related to consistency. And that said, I just want to base this discussion on consistently speaking positively to our kids. Please, guys, can we please prioritize speaking positively to our kids consistently, seriously, from the deepest part of my heart? It breaks my heart when I have to look at, or when I have to listen to how kids speak. It says a lot about their surroundings and their environment and how they're being raised. Just the other day, I read an article whereby, I'm not going to specifically mention the community that I live in. I do live in a very small village in a very big suburb, also a well-known province. However, I don't want to get too personal and say many things. I just want to say there's a school, there's a community that I live in, and there are schools around here. My kids attend the schools, and I was reading an article this other day whereby there was a 7-year-old girl who was forced by a grade 7 learner to go to the toilet, and he raped her. It's not a nice thing to speak about. But this just motivates me because I do come from a background of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. It's not a nice emotional abuse, but they all go hand in hand. They work hand in hand. The trauma stays with you, I can say, almost forever, because it's only you as an individual that can determine the length of your healing. Okay, and now because of everything that I've gone through in my past, and with my this is now my second failed marriage, and I can tell you a lot of the things. Just one of the bases, I just want to touch base on this, right? One of the important, significant facts that as a woman I want to just confront and say that when it comes to a divorce or a bad breakup, one thing that you don't want to do as a mother is badmouth the man, your ex-partner or your ex whatever. You don't want to badmouth him, because at the end of the day, especially if you have kids together, you have to realize that whatever you do, however you act in the process of the divorce or in the process of the breakup, however you act and however you react or respond to whatever is going on when there are kids involved, your children, they are the ones who suffer the consequences of our actions, right? And one very important thing that I learned is to forgive, to let go, and to help your kids, like, find your healing in assisting your own kids to handle the entire situation better. This is why I'm so hell-bent on positive parenting, because when you do things positively, you have a very positive outcome. When you do things negatively, when you take in things negatively, you have a negative projection, a negative perception. You will become negative. You will speak negative. You will motivate and you will promote negativity, right? And that's something you don't want. This, like I said, it's my second failed marriage, and where I come from, the first one that failed, I dealt with it very immaturely. Let me say that, because it was a matter of saying, I walked away with nothing, literally nothing. And physically and emotionally, I had some ailments here and there, but you know what? I could have dealt with it a lot better. Right now, my 2 kids from my first failed marriage, they live a distance away from me, and I have even failed at communicating with them. And you know what? Life goes on, because you have to learn to let go of things. There are just some things that you can't hold yourself to not let go. You take accountability for it, you accept it, you acknowledge where you faltered, where you contributed. I'm talking about myself. I have accepted where I contributed, how I contributed, and the contributing factors to all of that. I don't hold it against me, or else I would not be the person that I am today, confidently motivating positivity toward our children. Please. This being the second failed marriage, I say this again, and I've learned from my past that you can't harbor ill feelings toward the person that you are divorcing or the person that you are separating from, because once you do that, you will automatically have only negative things to say about the person. Your kids will end up either resenting you, or they will end up resenting their father. I've learned from that, and with that, I vouch for positive parenting all the way. I have everything against even negative speaking in the house. I always tell my kids, you know what? If you have nothing positive to say nothing. If you want to say something that is in a negative connotation, sit down, anapanasati, regulate yourself, think about how you're going to find a positive way to relay your message to either your siblings or your parents. Even as a parent, I tell my kids all the time when I'm reprimanding them, I don't like to pick on your mistakes. I don't like to pick on your downfalls. I don't want to pick on the negative aspects of what you did. What I have to do now is to remind you, this is where you went wrong, this is what you did wrong, and I need to help you to find a way to know from this point to, you know what, to deal with whatever it is that we are dealing with in a positive way. So I'm going to say the negative thing. I'm going to say, this is what you did wrong. This is where you went wrong. Now, this is how we are going to work at fixing this. Call yourself to order. The best way to do that is to fast. You fast, you pray, or you say positive affirmations, but you always remember that negative bad behavior. Let's call it bad behavior, right? The negative thing that you did, you always remember it, and then you call yourself to order. You see that negative, you take down the negative, you take a page, you write down negative, positive, the negative act that you performed, and then we work together. My kids now, they are between the ages of 25 and 5, right? So we work together. We help each other to bring each other back to order. I have inconsistencies and I have relapses. I fall back on my own behavior, which is bad. And you know what? I'm going to admit it, because we all are human beings and we have to admit that we have inconsistencies, and we have to find a way to deal with that ourselves, and it starts with taking accountability. It starts with taking responsibility, making an independent decision with authority for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. You're not doing it to impress anybody else. You're doing this for yourself. And it begins with the way that you speak to yourself. So if you change the way that you speak to yourself and educate yourself on how to positively speak to yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to pick you up from the hole that you are in and help you to dust yourself off and say, come, let's do this. Let's work at this together. It starts with yourself. You do it for yourself so that it motivates that you do it for your kids as well. For now, that's all that I have to say. I'm going to combine this with my next video, and I'm going to post it, and I'm going to hope a whole lot of positive introspect comes out of this, and it reaches a lot of people, because I know that there are a lot of women that are divorced, who have kids, that are going through breakups, who already have kids. I want to motivate you. Please be very, very positive when you are speaking to yourself and your kids. Please. Okay, so the whole point and the whole reason for this channel or this discussion today is to become more aware of how we're speaking to our kids, and to become more aware of the words that we're using or that we choose to use. Let's become more aware and selective with the words that we use when we're speaking to our kids, right? In my previous video, I mentioned that And now I'm ready to combine this one with that previous one. While I'm speaking about this, please comment and let me know, what is it that you guys are saying to your kids? How do you speak to your kids when you're disciplining your kids? Do you ever find yourself disciplining yourself out of your kids? I do all the time, and I've got 6 kids. Out of the 6 kids that I have, I am disciplining myself out of my kids all the time. And I tell them, you are your mom's child. You are not your mom, right? And make them very aware of that. And now and again, I'll throw in the bits and pieces that say you are your father's child, but you are not your father. I'm saying that I do this now and again because I do not find myself, I don't want to find myself jeopardizing the relationship between them and their father. So now and again, I've heard their father say, you know what, you are just like your son, or you're just like your daughter, who do certain things or act a certain way. Like, I find mathematics extremely difficult, and apparently I behave like my son. I'm lazy to calculate, which is the truth. I take it for what it is. So I'm just making myself aware all the time of what I say, how I speak. When I find myself saying don't, I stop myself immediately and I say, all right, not don't, guys. I find another positively motivating way to say what I want to say without using the word don't, not using the word don't, stop, do not. I try to replace them. And I'm also right now trying to stop saying ne and trying to stop saying a lot. And they bite they do this, biting their lip. So I have to stop them from doing that because the grandmother does that. So it's not that I don't want them to be like their grandmother, but I want them to be more like themselves. And themselves mean not so much like their parents or their grandparents, or repeating the way that we behave naturally. I stop them. I've been raising them for the past 10 years now. 10 years, precisely 10 years, because I've been married for the past 9 years. So yes, I've been raising them, and I have them watch a channel on YouTube that's distinctly English conversation practice. It teaches them how to say a lot of things appropriately. Like, for instance, who does this belong to? Instead of saying, whose is this? Instead of saying whose is this, the English conversation practice, it teaches them to say, who does this belong to? What time are we going? Not, are we going now? So it's, are we going now? What time are we going? Why? I learned psychologically that why tortures a child's mental capacity. It takes strain on their brain. You try it. You just try it once. Go ask your child why. Why did you do this thing? It's a threat. They feel threatened, right? And they don't want to answer you. They'll think of a million reasons to lie. I learned that to replace the word why, you use the word how come. How come? How come you ate the biscuit without asking? Or how come you took your brother's ice cream, for instance? I'm just giving you an example, right? When you say how come, you invite them, even if you're screaming and you say, how come? How come you did that? How come you ate the ice cream? Even with an angry face, right? They're going to answer you without lying. But if you're going to say, why did you do that? Immediately if you're saying why, you're also going to say, why did you take your brother's ice cream? You're threatening them. Oh, that poor child. You know what? My experience has taught me better. So I have learned how to not say why, and as much as it wants to come out, now and again I do say why. Now and again I find my own kids saying why, but mommy, why mom? So, and I say, oh, because why is not for asking. How come is for saying. That's what I say to them, right? Then we say, who generally, it's another threat. I learned this of all the books that I was reading on psychology. Who is another threat? You threaten your child who lives everywhere. who lives in everyone's house, who is there, who is not there, who ate who stole the money, who put my shoes on the roof, a whole lot of who. You don't ask who. I tell my kids, I am asking who because I already know the answer. And I'm asking you who because I'm giving you the opportunity to what? To speak the truth. So you will learn as a parent that your kids lie not because of any other reason, but because they feel unloved, or they feel threatened, or they feel like they need a reason to lie. So what I do is, when I'm asking the question of how come, I say, you know what, my child, better, you have no reason to lie. You have no reason to lie. I love you, your father loves you, your granny loves you, your teacher loves you, your brother loves you, your sister loves you, everybody loves you. You don't have a reason to lie. Speak the truth. Come now, speak the truth. And shame the devil. I do that. I say shame the devil because in this house, my kids know the devil is the negative mindset. The negative mindset equates to and is equivalent to anything that's a lie, anything that is not positive, anything that is negative. I usually say, if you have nothing positive to say, then say nothing. Keep quiet. I say that because if you don't say something like that, then you're going to find them mocking each other negatively. I allow them to mock each other, and I tell them, brothers are meant to mock you. Brothers are meant to annoy you, especially if they are big brothers. And I tell the brothers also, brothers, your sisters, they are meant to annoy you. You're going to find my daughters going into my son's bedrooms, pulling off the bedding of their beds, and just for no apparent reason, because the brother said something to her like, oh, your hair looks like a mampara. Then the sister goes and pulls off the blankets of the beds and corrupts his whole room. You have to make your kids aware of this. You have to make your kids aware that each and every child is loved equally. You have to tell them there's no favoritism. Otherwise, they're going to grow up thinking, you loved my sister more than you love me. You love my brother more than you love me. The last thing you want to do is give your child a complex. That complex, it comes in every household. Trust me, I've been there. It's a thing. You have to be able to teach yourself how to manage your kids' behavior, because they will end up hating their brother or hating their sister. Because I often hear my 5-year-old asking my 10-year-old and my 13-year-old, do you think mom loves my sister more than she loves me? Do you think mom loves my brother more than she loves me? She's 5 years old now and she still asks those questions. And you know what? It's a reality. It's a reality, my friends, that we go through this thing, but we just need to make ourselves aware. If you want to have a household that's with peace, if you want to raise peaceful kids, then you know what? Begin by educating yourself on how to speak appropriately to your kids, how to use words appropriately when you're speaking to your kids, so that if ever you end up in the corporate world, or your kids end up in the corporate world, or even just amongst each other, you want them to have peace. You want them to have peace because you don't want them to grow up having this ideology or this mentality that, you know what, my mother, she loved my sister more than she loved me, and that's why when I grow up, I'm going to show my sister. You know what's that I'm going to show my sister? There's just going to be a lot of hatred, a lot of jealousy, a lot of misunderstandings, misinterpretations. You don't want that. You don't want that, guys. I've spoken enough now. My time is almost up. Please subscribe, or please at least just comment and tell me, what is it that helped me? Let's help each other, right? Help us to build our kids' confidence. Let's just do this together, please. Please.